valuable company in the world right now is NVIDIA.
China gonna have to bow down, man. China is going to have to bow
down. Good evening, and welcome to the nightly recap powered by Gnn News Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the nightly recap. I'm Rob Nelson. I was gonna, because it was Thanksgiving and stuff, I was gonna not do tonight, but I feel bad not coming in and just giving you like a little recap, just a baby recap, because there's a lot going on. But mostly I wanted to sort of, it's Thanksgiving, some fun things, but you know, the shooting in DC, it's always a shooting, another shooting. This time it's sort of a different kind of shooting in that it's a shooting of two National Guardsmen. And it's interesting to me. They were West Virginia National Guard members on the deployment to D.C. to stomp out crime. It's been very politically controversial, as most of you know. It clearly has reduced crime significantly. More police presence does. They're not police, but they're, you know, they're peacekeepers. And Mayor Browser of the D.C. was, you know, she didn't fight it. She didn't do a Chicago thing. She was like, look, crime's too high here. I'll take the help. It was a smart political move. It's a smart practical move. She's like, she's not stupid. Her city's overrun with crime right now. People know it. It's affecting everyday people. It's affecting, you know, members of Congress, their staff. It's affecting people with stores. It's affecting, you know, rich people, poor people. It's not just a ghetto problem, a hood problem. So it made sense. But an Afghan national who came into the U.S. legally through the, you know, the equivalent of like asylum after Afghan, you know, it was like the war, after we did the withdrawal, it was like, we'll take our allies and they can come right in. Clearly, I don't know if he was an ally or if he was a Afghan plant or what, but he decided to shoot a couple guardsmen. First reports were they died. Then more recent reports are they're in critical condition. For the most part, there's been kind of unified outrage, and that's what I want to talk about for a second. There's a whole thing with an MSNBC reporter who said, you know, well, you know, there's this whole thing with the deployment of the guard and the ICE people wearing masks. Clearly, a lot of people are upset, so this shooting happened. Yeah, it was a stupid thing to say. I think the outrage at that comment is probably also a little politicized, like the indignation from the White House and, you know, conservatives, you know, you're scum, you're sick. I mean, there's a sort of a truth underneath it, right? I don't agree. I mean, yes, you could take a different takeaway, but kind of going, well, it was kind of, I would say, again, I'm not a fan of that kind of reaction. I think probably, you know, recognizing the horror of one more shooting, and it doesn't matter who was shot in this case. And in this case, these are service members. They're serving. They're guardsmen. They're going to do their job. They're going to protect. And they weren't there to hurt people. You know, even the people who don't like the ICE thing, who are also, those agents are doing their job as well. But the guardsmen were there to knock down crime, which is hurting everyday people in Washington. And they were doing a service. And they were serving as guardsmen. So they're serving their country and serving that community. Some random person coming in and shooting them, your reaction shouldn't be like, well, you know, shit happens, right? I mean, you know, you have these ICE people, sooner or later, you know, people get sort of, maybe you understand why. No. But I can say, I can say it was good. It was going to happen because people have been stirring this up. So the outrage from the right is understandable. The outrage from the left, so Gavin Newsom, for example, and Chuck Schumer, you know, the classic, you know, I want to find, you know, Gavin Newsom saying, you know, political violence is never okay, he says. There must be zero tolerance for violence of any kind against the brave men and women in uniform who selflessly serve our communities and our country. The shooting of National Guard members in Washington, D.C. is horrific and unacceptable. Jen and I are praying for them. You know, Wes Moore, Democratic governor of Maryland, you know, reaches across the aisle. We condemn this violence in the strongest possible terms and are holding the guard, their families, and their loved ones close in our hearts. We're offering any support we can. You also fan the flames of this stuff, and that's part of the problem, right? And that's where I'm not agreeing with the MSNBC reporter at all. His motive and how he's saying it was totally different. I am saying you encourage people long enough to think something's bad and horrible and not what it is. The guardsmen aren't doing something bad. You may not like Trump, but him sending in guardsmen to act as cops isn't bad. And the mayor welcomed them, and they're cooperating, working with the police department, who's welcoming them. They're not rounding up random people. They're stopping carjacking, shootings, robberies. They're stopping people, citizens, tax-paying, law-abiding people from having their lives wrecked, financially, physically, or even dying. It's a good thing. But so many people fan the flames of it. It's like horrible. This is Nazism. We're bringing troops into American cities. Yeah, I mean, people have said someone's going to shoot at people. Yeah, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen because you fan the flames of it. So now it's like, oh my God, political violence of any kind is unacceptable. It's so like two-faced. Well, if it's unacceptable, stop stoking it. Stop sort of implying, this is so horrible and wrong, so we need to stop it. Wink, wink, wink. I mean, people think Trump wink, wink, nodded for an insurrection at the Capitol. I'm watching this every day, all day long, with a wink, wink, nod, nod. This is horrible. This is a police state. This is the worst thing in the world. This is the end of the republic. This can't be tolerated. Wink, wink, wink. But don't use violence. No, just hold up a sign. I mean, it's so it just annoys me, and just getting it out there just bothers me that, this kind of, we all condemn it when it happens, but then, people on the left throwing the flames on it, pouring the gasoline on the flames. And just so you know, in a couple of years, you get a shot at a new president. And if you can pick, whether you want it to be J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or someone else on the Republican side who steps up and steps in, or you can pick a Democrat. Or you could pick a totally third person. That won't happen, but I wish it would. But you can then undo all these things. And I honestly think if you're in D.C., you're like, thank you. I'm sure if you're in Chicago right now, you're like, we could use it. Eight people shot over the weekend in one shooting. Probably like, we could use it. We could use it. I had a close member, a person I know well, who's a firefighter in the Midwest in Milwaukee, and told me once about how a few years ago how this first responders, they'd often get to things where shooting was going on first before the cops, and sometimes they'd get shot at. The shooters would just shoot at them. You're first responders. You're not even carrying guns. You put out fires. You're there to help. So the National Guardsmen were there to help, and somebody shoots them. And it's a sign of our times, and I'm just not going to go on my soapbox about the civil war that's brewing. But I will say this. You can't have it both ways. So if you want to condemn it, but then condemn it up front. How about condemn it before it happens? How about say, let's not demonize this thing. We don't like it, but let's be really clear. We cannot like things, and we can change them through a legal process. We can change them through an election. Don't say, well, there won't be any more elections because Trump will stay president forever and he'll remove elections and then he'll just do more of this and we're a police state. People are going to react really, especially people who don't think very well. People who are being manipulated by the algorithms. People who got the mind virus. Look what we did with COVID. People went down the rabbit hole. They locked their kids up. Whole country locked their kids up. Kids who don't get sick from this. They get sick, they don't die. We locked them all up. And we masked everybody up with cloth masks that don't do anything. We shot everybody up with a jab, even though it didn't stop you from getting it or transmitting it. People get wound up quick and easy. It's easy to indoctrinate them. So you're indoctrinating that this is the worst thing ever and Trump will never leave. Some kook's going to do this. And someone who's innocent, good, serving his country, 2 men, gets shot critically. Not okay. So don't pretend it's not okay when you're the Gavin Newsoms, when you basically look the other way the whole other time. I'm not just using him as an example. Okay, I'm done with that story. I'm done with it. Now we're going to talk about fun stuff. This is going to go totally different direction, but not quite though. There is, since 2019, disruptive to violent behavior, according to the FAA, has gone up 400% on in-flight stuff. People losing their shit and fighting. Violence to just purely, utterly disruptive behavior. 400%. Kind of coincides with COVID. Interesting, right? So Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, and he used to be in Big Brother. Remember that? Actually, my old Fox show, he was on along with other Big Brother members. So interesting. It's the only time I ever really talked to him up, and now he's Secretary of, he was on Fox, but now he's Secretary of Transportation. Interesting trajectory. That's a total sidebar. 1 in 5, so that's 20% of flight attendants report having a physical incident in 2021. Unruly passengers, you see it all the time. And flights get diverted, they get brought down, marshals come on. So Duffy has this idea of having people like be more civil. And then he does this very weird conservative thing. He's saying people shouldn't dress in pajamas. All the girls who wear the pajamas and the slippers. And it's kind of a hot look, right? I mean, they're designer pajamas, but guys do it too. Who's the singer? The guy singer, I can't think of his name, was famous with the red pajamas walking through. You probably, I suck at the trivia, but I know who he is if it'll come to me like midway through the show. But guys are doing it too. And Duffy's thing is like, well, you should, people should dress better. If you dress better, you'll behave better. It made me think, is there truth in that? I mean, I'm not known for my fancy dressing. I don't wear pajamas on a plane. I wear a t-shirt and jeans, maybe a pullover. But he's like, wear a button-up shirt, maybe a nice pair of jeans. I'm like, okay. Is that going to make us better? It's an interesting thought. I'm not a fan of etiquette. When I was in college, we had to take an etiquette class, and I hated it. It was like how, everything from which fork to pick up to it was like manners on manners on manners. And I think that's kind of superficial, but it did make me wonder, is there truth in the fact that, I don't know that women dressing in pajama pants, again, they're like designer pajama pants. They're designed, not just designer, they're designed for wearing out to look hot in them. They're not just designed for pajamas you got at JCPenney back in the day or Sears, just to sleep in. You probably don't even sleep in those pajamas. Those are the pajamas you wear out. But would people not wearing the fluffy slippers and the pajama pants change anything? I don't think so. I don't think that's what's making people so uncivil, so unruly. I mean, the road rage stuff is just going crazy with people shooting each other in incidents with car road rages. It's just reminds me, somebody getting a road rage thing with somebody, don't engage, don't fight, don't pull over, don't speed up and don't do it. It's like you hear too many stories. People are dying. One person has a gun and they shoot you. It's a physical altercation, and then somebody dies. It's not worth it. But we've really heated up the rhetoric, the political rhetoric, the social rhetoric, and it's spilled over onto airlines. And people are pissed at what they're paying, and they're pissed that they're barely getting peanuts anything anymore. And there's just a general sort of malaise about it, and a feeling of you're getting screwed back there in the economy. And more the people up front are getting the good treatment. And the flight attendants do treat you very different in first class, even on Spirit now. They now call it Spirit First. The big front seat, I used to love the big front seat. It's the best secret in travel. For a very small upgrade, you get the big front seat, which is a first class seat. It's full first class size, a domestic first class seat. And they call it the big front seat, which didn't do it justice. And, a flight from LA to, Florida, you get a big front seat upgrade for $140 maybe sometime, it's not a lot. And you get in a first class seat, tons of legroom, wide. There's only 2 seats on each side. But then they got smart. They switched it to calling it first class, and they do everything first class does. They come out early, take a drink order for you, ask if there's anything to get you. Alcohol is free. Everything they have is free except the little mini snack meals or whatever. Whatever you want, you want to drink, how we take care of you. Thanks for flying with us. Anything you need. They do that, right? That's normal first class. And still, the upgrade's still just $180 to fly across the country. So it's a great deal. I'm giving it out now, but I don't have enough listeners yet that everybody's going to know. It's a great deal. But my point is, everybody's looking up at the people up there going, they get treated well. They do. Everybody else just gets treated more here, take it. You want peanuts or not? We don't even have peanuts anymore. Everybody's allergic. Here, pretzels. Well, we don't have pretzels either now. Just here's whatever we have. Take it. Be grateful. It's crumbs. So there's this class tension, there's this economic tension, there's this general sense of everybody squished in smaller seats, paying more money. There's general anxiety. One person says something to someone else, it's like the road rage thing, and everybody goes kaboom, and all just blows up. I mean, I've been flying a long time, and it is definitely way worse in terms of the conflicts, both between attendants and passengers on planes, off planes, and passengers to passengers on planes. And flight attendants are often not very nice either. They can be such bitches and dicks. It's not funny. Like, they can just be so rude to you, as if they're doing you a favor being there. And they love to make clear, we're here for your safety first. No, that's just a line they came up with, by the way. They were there to serve you and make you have a good flight. And yes, help with your safety. But now the thing is, we're not really here to serve you and help you. We're here to keep you safe. Great, then just have safety people on. Like, you know? And as for the big seat thing and the overweight people sitting next to you, too big for the seat. They even have super seat belts. That's not okay. They should buy 2 seats. But I've also noticed flight attendants are getting bigger. There's a lot of big, really, we call them plus size. I call them fat flight attendants. And I'm not saying flight attendants have to look like models like in the old days before I was flying. But you know what? Probably you should have a weight requirement. Like, I'm just sorry, you probably shouldn't be able to just be a fat person who's a flight attendant. Plus size. If you'd watched Rob Nelson live in my last hour, I've made clear, I'm calling it fat because that's what it is. Plus size is a nice word, and nobody really wants to be plus size. Now that they can take a drug, everybody who like being plus size is now being not plus size because that's what people would rather be. If you're not plus size, if you're not fat, you don't really want fat people sitting on top of you. And I've had flight attendants bump me walking by because they're too big. The aisle's not big enough. They're hitting me boom, as they're going by, not intentionally, just whatever. That's a total sidebar, the big people. The conflict on the planes. The conflict in car rage. It's just a lot of conflict. It's Thanksgiving. Maybe we all make a commitment to not have so much conflict. That's not going to mean crap. We've been saying that for a while. We all need to make a lot of commitments. And I don't see the commitment of, like the idea of like try hearing an argument you don't like and understanding it. Try hearing the other side's argument. And this goes to the right and the left. I know some people who are conservative who try to hear liberal arguments. They hear them a little close-minded in a way, like they hear them, but they immediately have a reason why they're wrong, which is better than a lot of people I know on the left who can't even hear the argument. They shut you down halfway through the sentence. So it's better you can at least hear it, but then you immediately dismantle it, which is understandable. You think you're right, but that's not really trying to hear it or understand it. That's just trying to dismantle it. If you actually tried to understand an argument where it came from, that would be, a number of years ago, went with a group of people with an organization in California, and we went to San Quentin, and we took USC law students to meet with a group of lifers who'd been part of a program, a rehabilitation program. They're lifers, so they weren't leaving, but they wanted to make an effort to give something back. And they were doing music and art and film, and not just being kooky woo-woo creative. They were trying to figure it out, express it, build skills, work with people, work with young people to keep them out of trouble, do their best you can't ever undo what you did if you killed somebody, but to at least not get the family's forgiveness, the survivors' forgiveness, but to at least help them understand that you can't take it back, but you're forever sorry for what you did, and whatever you can do to try to pay anything forward. They were making the best effort you can make after you killed someone and you're in jail for life. And we took these USC students and we filmed them beforehand and talked to them about what their views were. And across the board, whatever their ethnicity, some of them had come from a lot of money, some came from less and were on scholarship. None of them could imagine having a relationship with a person who was in prison for life. None of them would want to date that person or have their sibling date that person. None of them really would want to give them a job. And they all seem to make a point of going, these people aren't like me. I would never be them. So they made a moral choice to do something really bad that took someone's life. I would never make that choice. I am different than them. I am better than them. They made that choice. They have to live with it. I don't feel sorry for them. And I certainly don't relate to them and don't really want to know them. And there's not they and I have nothing in common. We took them, spent a day. Going inside a prison is fascinating, a prison like that. And sort of like it's almost trippy at times too. When you leave, like it's a lot of little garbage can fires and stuff and cells and all this and people out sitting. And as you walk out, it's remind me of decades ago when I walked out of East Berlin before the wall had come down into West Berlin. The inmates just stare at you as you walk out. It's like you can walk in, you can walk out. They can never walk out. Well, some of the people I'm talking about weren't all lifers, so some of them will walk out in 5 years or 2 years or 10 years or whatever. But for now, they can't walk out, and you can. It's a trippy feeling going in and out of a maximum security prison like that. I don't know if San Quentin's considered maximum security, but I think so. But I mean, that's where Charles Manson was. Like a lot of bad criminals there. It's a fascinating experience. But after spending a day with them and hearing their stories and hearing them talk, almost to a person, the students had a different view. And they were like, and I've always said this, there but for the grace of God. Like it could have been, they're like, realize different choices, different circumstances. These weren't all bad people. And the fact that they were in this program to spend the time, they're not going anywhere. They're not getting out of prison if they do the program. It showed that they were remorseful for what they had done, but a lot of them had done it very young and not knowing and part of a gang or, so not even realizing what they were doing. The value of life was so low for them. It was sort of like, I die. Go to prison, I go to prison. That's where they were coming from. And realizing that, again, suddenly these USC students could go, I can see the humanity in them. And I'm lucky. I didn't have to face those choices. So who knows? I always say, who knows what you would have done if you were them? And would you make the same effort to like amend it and address it and show remorse and try to, you can't ever leave. So you're not leaving, but can you try to do something to change it for others going forward? But that effort to see what you don't agree with, to understand what you can't understand is deeply lacking in our society right now. We got to change it. All right. I'm moving from the heavy to the light. So here we're going to have some fun before we wrap it up. The Internet Invitational put on by Barstool Sports. All you listening, any of you who watch Talk to Me Taylor should ask Talk to Me Taylor about her interviews with Dave Portnoy. It's pretty fascinating. So Paige Spiranac, you know who she is, the influencer with the huge boobs? And she loves to, and she's hot. She loves to play with it, right? She shows the videos how to swing a club and she'll have the slow motion and so her boobs go flying. It's not accidental. Like she knows it. She's got a massive following. And she plays off of it. She was a pro golfer. Not a great one, but was a pro golfer. And now she's a massive golf influencer, dresses hot, flaunts her boob. Again, I'm not saying that in any way judgmental. I love it. I'm just saying she knows what she's doing. It's not like I happen to have, like, she plays them up. She makes puns about them. She holds things. Her golf clubs hold to the, like, to right up. She's a master at it. She has fun with it, and good for her. And the people who follow her have a blast with it too, I think women find it humorous. Guys love watching her, and she makes it fun to watch, and it's sexy, and I got no problem with that. I'm 100% on board. Here's where I have a problem. She's part of the final group. Started out as a 48-person tournament. It's all golf influencers and YouTubers. And again, Barstool Sports ran it along with Bob Does Sports. So she's paired with a Barstool guy, Frankie Borelli, and Good Girl Golf's Melosi Tigasawa. And they're up against, two other people. So Barstool and Good Golf. Okay, they're playing. That's all, whatever. So they lose the $1 million prize on the 18th hole of the final match. Why? Because both Spiranac and Tagliafico were caught up in cheating scandals. Tagliafico was speculated that I'm going to his first, used the slope on his rangefinder. And you can use a rangefinder, but you couldn't use the slope. Okay? Spiranac's is way more interesting. It's on film. She improves a lie in the final match. So I am not a golfer, but a lie, for those of you who don't know, it's the position of the golf ball, right? Where it sits, right? On the ground. And you can have a really shitty position, right? So it's a good lie if it's sitting clean on the fairway, right? If it's in sand or a divot or thick grass or whatever, or thick sand or whatever, then it's like a bad lie, right? Because you got to knock it out of there. You see golfers try to do it. They go whoosh and try to whack it out, right? Is it above your feet or below your feet? Is it sitting down in the grass, perched up? A lot of places it could be, right? And anybody who's watched any golf, I'm not a golfer, but anybody who's watched any golf knows you see, oh, geez, it went in there. Now they got to knock it out of there. That's going to be hard. And they try to whack it out, right? Okay. And they call the different types of lies: good lies, bad lies, tight lies, buried lies, uphill, downhill lies, and other lies. Well, Paige Spiranac told the biggest lie of all. She claims she didn't know you couldn't move it. She's caught on camera putting it to a better position on the divot. She puts the divot in and puts it up so it's no longer down in there. She's confronted on it, and she starts crying. I lost all respect for Paige Spiranac at that moment. She's everything bad about an influencer now in my mind. Went from 100 to 0. Total fake. She claims she didn't know you couldn't do that. So she wasn't cheating and she would never cheat. And she started crying. I'm sorry. You were a professional golfer? I don't golf. I've golfed like 3 times in my life, and I rarely watch golf, occasionally, if friends make me. I even know you can't go move the ball up when it's in a bad spot, when it's in the sand or on the grass. Like, it's obvious. You got to hit it out. You're a professional golfer, or were, and a golf influencer, though, so it's on golf courses all the time, surrounded by professional golfers. You watch golf all day long. You post about golf all day long. And you didn't know you couldn't do that? Of course you knew you couldn't do that. You didn't know there was a camera through the trees catching you do it. You didn't know? And then when called on it, you start crying? That is so lame. Just so lame. Anyway, so she then did this whole sob story on Instagram that she didn't post for a bit because the last week and a half is the worst hate she's ever received. I'm talking tens of thousands of death threats. Not good, but again, climate we're in. People telling me to kill myself. Not good. The most vile, horrendous stuff you could say. It's serious stuff. It's not easy. It hasn't been easy. That part I understand. The fact that people give her death threats, and it's like, again, you don't have to be like horrible. Like, you don't have to say this stuff, but that's going back to the climate we live in. It's just so effed up. But she removed herself, she said, for mental health. But then she says this: one thing I struggle with is wanting to be liked and accepted. I don't want to ever have anyone dislike me, she posts. And I always try to do everything I can to have people like me. This is an influencer, by the way. This is a common thing I think you would find in the mental state of most people who are big influencers. They want to be liked. It's like actors. They want to be liked. Also, actors often want to do the art. They want to be liked. They want likes, the Facebook like. Remember the Facebook guy who created the Facebook like button? Said he would never have done it if he realized what it had done, that it becomes validation for people. They have to get likes or they feel horrible. And so it's hard for her, she says, as a person. But luckily, she's got a good support system. And she's painfully embarrassed that she didn't know about the rule. But she said, I would never intentionally cheat. I learned now that it was a rules infraction. I'll never do it again. That's what I call a bad lie, in the true sense of the word. You didn't know it was a rules infraction. How could you be one of the top golf influencers? How could you have been a pro golfer? When someone like me, who's golfed 3 times in my life, knows you can't move the ball onto the divot so it's not in the grass, so you get a clean shot at it. You can't go into the sand and clean it away and stick it up on a thing so you can get a nice clean shot and get it right up there. That's the whole part of it. It sucks when you go into the bad zone and you got to figure out a way to hack it out. And the commentators are like, oh, it's going to be tough when we get him out there. Oh, he got it up. Look. Oh, man, he managed to get it all the way up onto the green. Oh, it took him 3 tries. No, you don't get to dig it out. So that's just a bad lie. And it's unfortunate. So on that note, Paige Spiranac, you're a bad liar. you did know. And I'll never believe you didn't. And I will say this, since I'm not in your head, if you didn't know, you should resign as a golf influencer. You should say goodbye to that, say goodbye to your fans, give up all the likes and the whole thing and go, I'm going to something new because I didn't know the most basic rule. Nobody believes she didn't know either. At the time, they didn't care. They're like, we don't care, Paige. It's okay. It's just kind of like, you know, you can't do that. I didn't know. I'm gone. They're like, don't cry. Don't cry. Crying is the worst angle out. I'm not mad, though, at Paige Sporadic. That's the world we live in. Influencers seek attention for likes. When caught, people lie. I never should have said that. It's not me. I never should have made those disparaging comments that got leaked. I take them back, or that somebody blew up on my socials. That's not who I am. Of course, it's who you are. It's why you wrote them. You just had to come to Jesus because you got caught and you're going to get fired or lose your thing or lose your influence or whatever. I do think honesty is the best policy, but not always. Sometimes it's okay to lie. And we all lie. Human nature, but being human is a lie. We lie that we're like, we think we're like, we lie that we're going to die one day. We lie that we're born and we're just slowly dying. You know, we lie about all kinds of things. We lie to ourselves, we lie to others, but that kind of lie is just more a different kind of lie. I don't know. It's a society we live in. It's where I started with this, you know, saying you abhor political violence when you basically taught people to do it. It's a version of a lie. It's not the same. It's a sideways lie. Sporadics was just a blatantly bad lie. It's not believable. And just admit you cheated. Whatever. I thought I could get away with one. My bad. I don't win. I'm sorry. We all make mistakes. That'd be true. Like I said, I'm not in her head, but then she shouldn't be a golf influencer if she didn't know. But world we live in, whatever. I'm done. I'm done that Paige Sporadic. I'm done with the nightly recap. It's Thanksgiving. I don't know. You know, everybody says be grateful for stuff. And I know there's a lot of things that people are being torn up by right now. There's a lot of challenges we're facing. There's a lot of mental health challenges. We do need to have a lot more love. I'm probably being a little harsh on Paige Sporadic, and I'm partly doing that for fun. I do think she's a bad liar, and she either knew what she was doing and lied about it, or she didn't know and shouldn't be a major golf influencer, because I don't know how you could have ever made it to the pros not knowing that. But that said, give her a break. It's Thanksgiving. It's the holiday season. I don't know. Everybody going around saying what they can be grateful for. My thought would be, hey, maybe just do something, an act of gratitude. I'm going to go to a place in Nashville tomorrow and help, you know, meals and deliver food to people in, you know, tent city, homeless people living on Broadway on the streets. That's another way, because you know what? You know, those people say thank you to you, and I'm like, thank you. You're giving me the gift of being able to help and make a difference, and I feel good. We all feel good about ourselves when we help, so it's like I'm the one getting the gift. But that's a form of gratitude. If not, maybe just be thankful to the people around you. Maybe just be grateful for the things you have, not the things you don't have. It's one way to look at it. You know, we're always going to want more. We live in a society of wanting more. And maybe, again, just another version of gratitude is just looking at the people you don't agree with and having grace for them. Grace is like a form of gratitude. So if we could have a little more grace, whether it's on a plane, whether it's political, whether it's in a personal relationship or business one, grace is gratitude. All right. I'm not lecturing, just offering a thought. I got my flag on. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for a lot, including this country, and for the chance to talk to you guys, however few or many you are. Appreciate y'all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Valuable company in the world right now is NVIDIA.
China gonna have to bow down, man. China is going to have to bow down.